deep dive podcast on divine narratives, a collection of inspiring biblical stories, Episode 3, A Covenant of Love, the marriage of Isaac and Rebekah. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Today we are opening up a file that, honestly, it feels like it was written for the silver screen.
It really does.
We're talking about high-stakes travel, ancient oaths, a test of character that involves some serious heavy lifting, and the sunset meeting that basically invented the romance genre.
Totally. But underneath all that, cinematic flair, there's some serious, heavy machinery at work. We're talking legacy, survival.
This is the story of Isaac and Rebekah.
And it's so easy to get swept up in the love story part, but the context is actually pretty tense. You have to remember where we are in the timeline. Abraham is old now.
Very old, like 140.
Right. And his wife, Sarah, who's this huge force in the narrative, she's just passed away. And Isaac, the child of promise.
Miracle baby.
He's 40 years old and he's still single.
Which is a massive problem in a world where your whole claim to fame is that you're going to be the father of a great nation.
If Isaac doesn't have a partner, the whole divine project it stops, dead in its tracks.
The promise is hanging by a thread, and Abraham feels that clock ticking. He knows he won't be around forever, so he summons his chief servant, probably Eliezer, though the text just calls him the servant, for a mission that is absolutely critical.
And it's not just a casual, hey, can you do this for me? The source describes this very intense ritual where he makes the servant swear an oath.
A solemn oath.
And he puts a huge constraint on it. He says, basically, you must go get a wife for my son, but you absolutely cannot pick a woman from the Canaanites living here.
And that is the first big guardrail. It's really important to unpack the why. This wasn't just, tribal snobbery.
Yeah.
The Canaanites had a religious system, a worldview that was the complete opposite of what Abraham was trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that if Isaac married into a Canaanite family, the unique spiritual DNA of this new covenant family would just dissolve.
It would just get absorbed
within the generation, yeah.
So it's about alignment. He needs someone who shares the same values, the same background. So he tells the servant to go way back to his homeland, to Mesopotamia. But then he adds another rule, right?
He does, and this part is fascinating. The servant asks, well, what if the woman won't come back with me? Should I take Isaac there?
Which seems like a logical question.
A very logical question. Abraham is adamant. No. Isaac is the child of the promise, and that promise is tied to the land of Canaan. Going back would be a retreat. It would be reversing the call.
So the servant has to find a woman who is willing to leave everything for a husband she's never met in a land she's never seen.
Talk about a tough sales pitch.
Hey, come with me across the desert to marry a guy you don't know.
And trust me, he's great.
So you can just imagine the pressure on the servant. He packs up 10 camels, loads them with gold, jewelry, all sorts of goods as proof of Isaac's status.
Yeah.
And he sets off on this, 500-mile journey?
About 500 miles.
Yeah.
Which is roughly a month of travel. This is not a day trip. He has a lot of time to think about how impossible this task really is.
No photo, no dating app.
It's just an oath and a prayer.
So let's fast forward. He arrives at the city of Nahor. It's evening, sun's going down, and he stops by the town well. The source notes this is when the women come out to draw water.
Yeah, this is basically rush hour at the ancient world's social hub.
So if you're the servant, you need to find the perfect woman to carry on this legacy. I mean, my first instinct would be to look for who looks like royalty or ask around for the richest family.
That's the human strategy, right?
Yeah.
Look for the power couple match.
Yeah.
But the servant does something that totally shifts the focus. He realizes this is way too big for his own judgment. He stops and he prays. But he doesn't just pray for a feeling. He constructs a specific behavioral test.
This is my favorite part. He asks for a very specific sign. He says, I'm going to ask a girl for a drink. Let the right one be the girl who says drink, and I will water your camels too.
And we have to pause on that phrase, water your camels too. Because I think today we hear that and we think, oh, that's nice. She'll top off a dog bowl.
Right, like pouring a glass of water.
Yeah. No. We have to do the math. A camel that's just crossed the desert can drink about 20, maybe 25 gallons of water in one sitting.
Okay, and he has 10 camels.
Exactly. So do the multiplication. That is somewhere around 250 gallons of water. Now, think about the tech. She's got a jar, probably holds 3 gallons max. She has to lower it, pull it up, carry it to the trough, pour it out, and do it again.
So if she's carrying 3 gallons a trip, that's over 80 trips.
It is hours of back-breaking, just intense manual labor. And she's offering to do this. So when the servant prays for this sign, he isn't testing for politeness. He's testing for grit. for an extraordinary work ethic.
It's a character audit. Anyone can give a stranger a sip of water, but volunteering to water 10 camels, that's going so far above and beyond.
Precisely. He was looking for a quality the Hebrews called hesed, loyal love, kindness in action. He knew Isaac's wife couldn't just be a trophy wife. She had to be a partner capable of heavy lifting.
And the craziest thing is the prayer is barely out of his mouth.
When Rebekah shows up, the timing is immediate. The source says, before he had finished speaking, Rebekah came out. And she checks the first few boxes right away. Right clan, unmarried, and the text says she's very beautiful.
So she passes the eye test, but now the camel test. The servant runs up and asks for a drink.
And she gives it to him immediately. She's respectful. And then there's this pause. The servant's probably holding his breath. And then she says it. I will draw water for your camels also until they've finished drinking.
She volunteers. She just signs herself up for this marathon.
And she hustles. The text says she quickly emptied her jar and ran back to the well. She's energetic. Imagine the servant just watching this, his impossible prayer being answered in real time.
It must have been overwhelming. And then once the camels are finally done, he asks who she is. And that's where the second shoe drops.
This is the confirmation. She tells him she's the daughter of Bethuel, who is the son of Nahor.
Abraham's brother.
It's a bullseye, an exact match. She's not just a kind stranger, she's family. The servant is so overcome, he just bows down and worships right there. He realizes he's not just lucky, he's being guided.
Okay, so step 1 complete. He found her. Now for step 2. The negotiation. Rebekah runs home, and we meet her brother, Laban, who, well, for those who know their biblical history, Laban is quite a character.
Character is a polite way to put it. Laban's a very transactional guy. There's this funny detail where the text says Laban saw the gold nose ring and the bracelets on his sister, and then he ran out to invite the man in.
He saw the gold and suddenly got very hospitable.
Classic Laban. But, to be fair, the family does welcome him. They set out food.
Yeah.
But the servant, he refuses to eat. He says, I will not eat until I have told my story. He's all business.
He's on a mission. He doesn't want to get comfortable until the deal is closed.
Right. And he launches into this amazing speech. He retells the entire saga, the oath, the journey, the prayer, how Rebekah fulfilled the test. He frames the whole thing as a divine decree. He's basically saying, look, God has clearly done this. Are you going to get in the way?
And it works. Laban and her father are just stunned. They say, the matter has come from the Lord. We can't speak to bad or good. They agree to the marriage.
But then the next morning, there's some tension. The servant wants to leave immediately, but the family's like, whoa, slow down. Let her stay with us for 10 days.
Which is such a human moment. This is their daughter. If she leaves, they'll likely never see her again.
It's a permanent goodbye. They want a long farewell. But the servant pushes back. So they do something pretty surprising for the time. They say, let's call the young woman and ask her.
Which is huge, right? To give her the vote?
It is. In this patriarchal society, Rebekah is given agency. Her voice matters. They ask her straight up, will you go with this man?
And she doesn't even hesitate. She just says, I will go.
It's so powerful. It echoes Abraham's own call. It shows she has that same spirit, that same faith. She's willing to leave her security for a promise she hasn't seen yet.
She isn't being dragged into this. She's choosing it.
Absolutely. So she packs up, takes her nurse, and they start the long trek back.
And now we cut back to Canaan. It's evening again, and we see Isaac.
We haven't heard from him in a while. The text says he went out to the field to meditate. The Hebrew word is a bit obscure, or it can mean meditate, pray, even mourn. Remember, his mother just died. He's grieving.
It's a very solitary image, him walking alone at sunset.
And he looks up and sees the camels. At the same time Rebekah sees him, she asks the servant, who is that man walking in the field to meet us?
And when she finds out it's Isaac,
she takes her veil and covers herself. It's a formal act. In that culture, by veiling herself, she's signaling her transition. She's declaring herself a bride set apart for him.
And then they meet. The text is quiet on dialogue, but it gives us this really poignant action. It says Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother, Sarah.
Which is a massive symbolic move. Sarah's tent was the heart of the home. It had been empty. By bringing Rebekah there, Isaac is installing her as the new matriarch.
And then it says, and he married Rebekah, so she became his wife. And he loved her.
And he loved her. That's so key. These arranged marriages were often just contracts. But the text explicitly states there was love. And then it adds, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
It brings it all home. It wasn't just about the covenant. It was about healing. It shows that this divine narrative cares about human emotion, about the heart.
And they were perfect counterparts,
Yeah.
really. You have Rebekah, who's active, decisive, running to the well, and then Isaac, who's more meditative, contemplative, waiting in the field.
The doer and the thinker.
Yeah, they complement each other. The legacy needed both energies to survive.
I want to zoom out and look at the takeaways here, because one thing that really stands out is how this story defines a successful partner. It's a very different scorecard than we use.
Completely different. Today, we're looking for chemistry, shared hobbies, a spark. The servant looked for service. He looked for the capacity to do hard things for others without being asked.
The camel test.
The camel test. It's a profound way to look at life, really. If you want to know what someone's really like, watch how they handle a messy situation when no one's watching. Do they ignore the need, or do they water the camels? That's what sustains a relationship.
Because 250 gallons of water is a lot of work, and so is marriage.
Precisely. The romance at the end, the "he loved her," was built on the foundation of the character revealed at the well.
There's also this theme of guidance. The servant prays, but he also plans. He does the legwork.
It's not a passive let go and let God. He traveled 500 miles. He positioned himself for the miracle, but he didn't try to force it. It's that balance of faith and pragmatism.
And finally, this concept of covenant love. What does the story actually show us about it?
Well, notice the order. They commit before they have the feelings. Rebekah says, "I will go," before she even meets Isaac. Our culture puts feelings first. I feel love, so I commit. The biblical model often flips that. I commit, and through that shared life, deep love grows.
It's a love engineered to last because it's based on a promise, not a mood.
Exactly. It's sturdy.
So we've gone from a worried old man in a tent to a servant's prayer, a test at a well, and a marriage in a field.
It's a masterclass in how values, character, and faith all intersect to build something that lasts. It's a reminder that our most critical decisions shouldn't just be about who we like in the moment, but about who is traveling in the same direction.
And that leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with today. We live in a world that prioritizes the spark, that instant connection. And sparks are great. Isaac and Rebekah clearly had one. But the servant didn't test for sparks. He tested for character.
He looked for the heavy lifting.
So here's the question for you to mull over. In your own relationships, whether you're looking for a partner, building a business, deepening a friendship, are you looking for the person who looks the part, or are you looking for the person who volunteers to water the camels? How do you distinguish between a connection based on fleeting feelings versus one built on the heavy lifting of character, trust, and shared commitment?
That is the question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.